92% of people will fail to learn a language this year, and I know I'm stating the obvious, but those are not good odds. But what if you could tilt the tables so that the odds were a little more in your favor? Well, by watching this video, you will do exactly that. I have been learning a language for 16 months, and in this video, I will show you how I am able to never give up and stay consistent while learning a language. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is start out small. If you start studying like an hour a day every day, you're going to get burnt out and you're going to quit very soon. That's how it always goes. However, if you start small and work your way up, it's a lot harder to give up. To accomplish this, I highly recommend using Duolingo. It's super easy and digestible content, and it should only take you 2 or 3 minutes a day. Hopefully, after enough time, you'll start to get bored of Duolingo and start moving on to harder content, such as flashcards, movies, podcasts, and conversation. And even if you don't end up searching out harder content, you'll still familiarize yourself with the language, and you'll be at a much better starting point than you were at the beginning of this year for next year's New Year's resolutions. And it takes everybody a different amount of time to move on to harder content. When I was using Duolingo to study Portuguese, it took me about 2 months for me to stop using Duolingo and move on to harder content. I am also studying Swahili using Duolingo, and I'm at a 108-day streak, and I still haven't found myself being able to comfortably move to harder content. And that's okay. As long as you study the language every day, you are winning. Secondly, I think that setting realistic goals is extremely important. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you will not achieve fluency in a year. It's just not going to happen. And let me tell you why. The Foreign Service Institute says that you will need at least 575 hours to achieve professional proficiency. So even if you study for an hour a day every day, which is incredibly exhausting, you will still be more than 200 hours away from achieving professional proficiency, let alone fluent. I highly recommend setting a goal to be conversational by the end of the year. I think that this goal is quite challenging, but easily doable, and it will be one of those goals that you will look back at your starting point and be like, wow, I've come such a long way since I started. However, it is also important for you to take your other resolutions into account while learning a language. If you have a lot of different resolutions, then it may be best to scale down your goals for learning a language. However, if you have few resolutions, you may want to shoot a little bit higher when you learn a language. It's all up to you, and you know you best. I also want to mention that learning a language is incredibly difficult. You can't judge your progress in days and weeks. You need to judge your progress by at least months. If you can look back on the month before and think, wow, I've made so much progress in my language, then that's great. Like, keep on doing what you're doing. But if you look back on your progress from the last month and think, ooh, I didn't improve as much as I wanted to, then maybe take a look at your study habits and be like, what do I need to improve? So when you write down your resolution, keep in mind that this will take at least an entire year. It's really hard. And you also need to understand that when you start, you will not see immediate improvement. It's like working out. When you start, it's going to be very difficult to find improvement, but after a month, you'll find yourself lifting heavier weights. After 6 months, you will think that you are looking really good, because you probably are. And after a year, you'll find that you're able to lift much heavier weights than when you initially started. When you learn a language, you may not make huge daily gains, but when the end of the year arrives, you'll be able to look back and really be surprised at how much you've learned. Speaking of, I highly recommend that you find a buddy. It could be just a friend who you talk with often who can keep you in check. It could be others who are setting New Year's resolutions with you. It could be other language learners. It could be somebody who's learning your native language and you are learning their native language. The journey is always easier with help. And that isn't to say that you need to be completely reliant on others, because the main source of motivation and discipline should be from yourself. It should be intrinsic. But when times get tough, that's when you start to need to rely on others to help you back up and help you continue your progress. So I have 2 final thoughts before I end the video. The first is that you need to choose a language that interests you. It's very difficult to learn about something that you don't care about, especially if you're not doing it for a grade or to please parents or for work. Secondly, I want to encourage you to never give up. If you miss a day, that's okay. You have tomorrow. If you missed a week, that's okay. You still have a lot of time left to improve. You can still meet your goal even if you miss a week or even a month. Just continue to push through setbacks, and at the very least, just expose yourself to the language and you will learn a lot, I promise. and I want you to know that I truly believe that you can become conversational in a year. Thank you.